Hi everybody, I'm Samantha from the Law Offices of Samantha Wolfe, and I'm here with Noah. Hi Noah.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, it's good to have you. Noah stopped in today. He's home over Christmas break, and so we're happy to have him. Thanks for stopping in, Noah.
Of course.
So we wanted to do another fun interactive interview like we had done with Noah about his internship. So we thought today we would discuss the Pennsylvania Trust Guide. And so with that being said, I'll let Noah take over with asking some questions.
Of course, yeah. So I just have a couple questions for you about the Pennsylvania Trust Guide. And so the first question I have is, what is it?
Yes. So here we go. I have it back here. So the Pennsylvania Trust Guide, for anybody who doesn't know, is this nice big thick book here. And then we have a supplement that we do every year. So this is 2021 supplement. So what it is it is a guide that is supposed to be used for other attorneys, for CPAs, accountants, answering questions and addressing questions and concerns about trusts in the state of Pennsylvania. So what we have is we do have obviously the Pennsylvania statutes. We talk about some of the laws that have changed every year because we do a supplement every year. And then we have some good drafting tips as well as drafting forms in here. The design is that this goes out, anybody who can or wants to purchase it can purchase it, and then they have a desk manual of how to draft trusts and what certain issues or concerns that you might have when drafting the trust. And so I am a co-author along with two other attorneys. So that's what the Pennsylvania Trust Guide is. And it's published by George T. Beisel Company. So we have a wonderful working relationship with them where they help us publish, edit it, and then distribute it.
Nice, awesome. So what kind of information is in the Trust Guide?
Yes, so I could talk about this forever, Noah, because I love talking about this. So every year we look to see what cases came out in the past year because there's always new court cases that address trusts in Pennsylvania. So what's new coming out? So a lot of the more recent cases that we've been dealing with is how to modify an irrevocable trust. And if you're going to modify an irrevocable trust under Pennsylvania law, can you change who the trustee is? So those are some of the questions we use, and what we do is we kind of do a case summary of what the law says. We have the statutes in there, and then we even have forms. So if you wanted to modify your trust, you could look in the Pennsylvania Trust Guide, and it would give you a form. So you could start, at least, and then tailor it to whatever your situation was. So that's what content we put in. It's different than other guides because it really does have practice tips as well as drafting tips. So that's where it's going to be a little bit different than a normal textbook guide that you might get, is that we wanted to make sure that people had forms in there. And it's legal forms as well as, we encourage people, you might want to do like an asset list. So we have an example form of an asset list, how to revoke a trust, how to modify a trust, all of those things that we as attorneys who practice in this area might use on a regular basis.
Awesome. So there's a lot of stuff in there.
A lot of stuff in there.
Awesome. Now, that being said, there's all this stuff in there. What kind of audience are you really addressing all this information to?
Yes. So it is considered a handbook for trustees as well as their advisors. So a lot of times it's attorneys in Pennsylvania who either practice in this area or maybe don't practice but just want like a desk guide if they ever would need to do something like that. And then we do have some accountants, some CPA, their firms that might also get this trust guide because they're doing tax returns and they might need to know different aspects of the trust, and this would be a great guide for them to have.
Awesome. It sounds like a really awesome resource for all these people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get involved with writing this in the first place? It's a big project that'll help a lot of people. So how did you get into it?
Yes. So I have to admit, we've talked about this. No, I always wanted to be a writer when I was a little kid. I always thought, I'm going to grow up and write like a great book. So I didn't imagine it was going to be the Trust Guide. I thought it would be some sort of work of fiction. But when I worked with Steinbacher, Goodall, and Yurchak up in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, I worked there for 7.5 years. And while I was working there, my boss, as well as the founder of the firm, Julie Steinbacher, had asked if I would be willing to help her write it. And so while I was up there for 2 years, we did some supplements. And so the supplement is just the littler booklet that goes out every year to show what's changed since the last big edition that we did. So when I came back here and started practicing and then opened up my law firm, we've still continued to collaborate, which is also nice because you're getting it from our perspective as well as Steinbacher, Goodall, and Yurchak. So currently I co-author it with Julie Steinbacher and Jenna Franks from Steinbacher, Goodall, and Yurchak.
Well, really nice, really nice. Can you tell us more about the process of actually writing it once you've gotten with these
Yes.
people?
Yes. So what happens is the team at George Beisel always helps. They're tremendous, and they give us kind of deadlines of when they want done. So, for example, this year, the publisher, the editor, reached out and said, this is the timeline that we're looking at. So this year's timeline, they wanted us to get them the first draft, if we could, by the end of July. So what that means is that in May, I think it was every Saturday in May, I worked to kind of set aside the day and worked on finding case laws that might have changed in the last year, reflecting on this past year of practice that I had, as well as talking with those at Steinbacher, Goodall, and Yurchak, and figuring out what have they seen in their practice over the last year. What new forms can we include? What new situations can we include? And all of that goes in there. So the first draft, I start usually in May, and it's due at the end of July. Then the editors all do their tremendous work, editing, doing whatever they need, and then I get a first manuscript that I have to take a look at. And I'm trying to remember the timeline. I want to say I got that in September. So I spent a Saturday going through, checking what their edits were, some of the questions that they had, things they wanted me to clarify. Then I send it back. And then at the beginning of December, I received the second draft of the manuscript, and that is, I'm not adding new content, I'm just checking for grammar, punctuation, all of that. So we, beginning of December, packed all that up and shipped it back to the editors. So now we just wait, usually in January and February is when it's actually published.
Awesome. Very cool, very cool.
Yes.
So you talk about this long process of getting this entire thing published, all the editing and all the revisions that you do. So how often, with all that being said, is the guide published?
Yes. So I have to think back a little bit. So every year we do a supplement, and then usually every third or fourth year we do the big edition. And what the big edition is it's the original manuscript plus any of the supplements that we've drafted and prepared through the years. So I want to say the last edition we did was in 2019. So we have a supplement for 2020, 2021, and now 2022. So most likely in the next year or two, we'll be doing a new edition, which combines all the supplements through the last couple of years and puts them as part of the actual trust guide. So then in that year, you just get the next edition. So it will be the 5th edition the next time we do one. So, and we might have to break it up into 2 books soon because it's pretty thick.
It's a big book.
Yeah, so we'll see what the publisher wants to do. But so that's how we kind of come up with the content, how we put it all together. Yeah.
Awesome, yeah. So, we talked about this big revision process and stuff like that. What was the best part of writing the trust guide?
As I've practiced more, and maybe even since I started my firm, I'm able to put real life situations, which is really nice. It's nice for a couple reasons. So the first is I think that for other legal practitioners, the best guidance is when you yourself have experienced a situation. So the authors, we have all been able to contribute our own personal stories. So one was dealing with a Q-tip trust and certain elections with Department of Revenue. We included that case in there. And then we had the other co-author had a situation with a trust modification and the appointment of a trustee. So I think the best part is when I feel like independently and individually as practitioners, we have our own stories to add. Now, again, a lot of times there's no clear answer because we're just saying how the case ended up in this particular county. So it doesn't necessarily mean that won't change in other counties depending on how they look at things. But it's nice to be able to add that in there. Plus, I like to be able to look at it in the 2 ways. The other part I love about it is that we do the practice tips and the forms as well as the case law updates. So I feel like it helps me be a better attorney when I'm constantly following what's happening in Pennsylvania as it relates to trusts and writing about it. So I always feel like we're most current here in our office because we're looking at the material, we're drafting, and then we're putting it together in the supplement.
Awesome, yeah, for sure. We talked about the best part that you felt about everything. We're to go to the other side. What was the most challenging part of creating this?
Yes. So when I worked at Steinbacher, Goodall, and Yurchak, Julie was always very generous in allowing us to take a certain period of time to draft it. And usually our workload was a little bit lighter during that time. Maybe we weren't meeting with as many clients or we weren't drafting as much so that we could really make sure we were focused on the content. When you're in your own practice and you might be the only attorney, it's juggling your client work as well as the guide and the supplement. So I would say the most challenging part would be that I'm still doing my regular job Monday through Friday and on the weekends like I normally do, but then I really need to set aside, 8 hours over the weekend to really devote to writing this without the interruptions. So that's probably the most challenging part. But I will tell you that when I did that, like I said, every Saturday in May, that first Saturday in June, there's nothing like realizing that you've accomplished something to make you feel really good. So I felt like, although it was difficult and challenging, I really enjoyed it. It feels like I've accomplished something when we're done with it. So yeah, I guess that's the negative, but I feel that it almost has a positive too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would agree. You have to make that time commitment, but it's worth it in the end. I totally see that. I totally see that. So, we talked before about, this entire long process and all the time you've dedicated to it and everything like that. There's a lot of information out there about estate planning, elder law, everything in this field. What helped you determine what information to put into the guide?
If it would be important to me as a practitioner, then I know it's going to be important to other attorneys in the state of Pennsylvania practicing in this area of law. So I don't want to say that's the easiest part of it, but it is helpful that I practice primarily in this area, because when I see something come across, we're part of some great listservs email-wise for attorneys across the state of Pennsylvania. So somebody might send an email, or we have a fiduciary review that comes out that gives a summary of all of the cases that have come out of the courts in Pennsylvania. And so that's, really helpful to kind of collect the information. And so I would say that the fact that I practice in this area makes it easy for me to pick and choose what I think, because if I were reading it, if someone else were writing it and it would be a chapter that I would stop and read really closely, then I know that this is the content that should be part of this year's supplement.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. I think that's a very good way to approach it. You really see how it affects your clients, and so you know how to apply that to the guide that you want to create.
Right.
So how does you writing this trust guide actually help your clients,
Yeah, so it's helpful for a couple of reasons. So the first is that, again, one of the reasons that we select certain material to put in the guide is if I come across a situation in my practice that I can't find a form for. So I ran across this last year, and so that I knew that when I came up with the form that I wanted to use in my practice, that I wanted to share it with other attorneys because it was important enough to include in there. So that's always really nice. I think it helps our clients because that means I'm really immersed and keeping up on what's happening in this area. So when you go see an attorney, it's a lot like going to see your doctor. So each attorney seems to have an area that they really try to focus on. Just like doctors have specialization areas, attorneys have focus areas. And so our focus area is on trusts, estates, the estate planning process. So the fact that we're helping co-author the Pennsylvania Trust Guide, again, means that we're staying on top of everything that's happening in the law. And, we're always trying to come up with new material. We're, working on the forms that hopefully other attorneys are using in Pennsylvania. So I think that can really help our clients, because then we're always abreast of what's happening and what's the newest thing in Pennsylvania.
Awesome, yeah. I just want to clarify really quickly. What are the differences between the edition and the supplement?
Yes, so the edition has, from back when it was originally drafted, so it has the original manuscript plus any supplement that we've done. So for example, this is 2021 supplement. So when we go to do the 5th edition, I will be incorporating this supplement into the material of the actual book.
Okay.
So when we do a new supplement, like I said, I think the last one was 2019, so I have 2020, 2021, and I'll have 2022's supplement to put into the actual Pennsylvania Trust Guide itself, plus any new material that I think is relevant for that year. So it's really incorporating our supplements into this book. So we can already tell how big the next edition will be, because we know that we're going to at least have to include the supplements that we've put out in years after the edition. And then, like I said, then we include anything that would have happened in the year prior as well. So it's almost like a supplement, plus it pulls together everything that from the last edition. And then you get a nice big bound book as opposed to just these little supplements every year.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. We've been talking about this for a while here, but in the entire process of creating this, what was your favorite subject to write about in the guide?
So I have two, actually. So the first was dealing with the revisions to an irrevocable trust. We had a situation where a bank resigned as the trustee, and we didn't have a backup trustee. And so it was a charitable trust that we were dealing with. And so I liked doing that because I don't want to say we don't have a lot, but I would say charitable trusts, when they do come along, they're different because we don't see them every day. So that was fun and challenging, and I liked being able to write about that topic. And then the other topic was the one that's gotten a lot of, I don't want to say controversy across the state, but I feel like the law has kind of gone back and forth, and that would be trustee removals. And when can you remove a trustee under an irrevocable trust, under what circumstances, and under which code section of the Pennsylvania law. So that's always interesting because I feel like every year they're building on that or trying to expand on those circumstances. So in the last 5 years, we've seen a big evolution in that area of law. So that's been exciting to be able to have started working on that, talking about trust modifications and trustee removal, and then to be able to see where we are in the law. And I think more than ever in this supplement, sometimes I'll explain as a practitioner why I like or dislike maybe what the court decided or the challenges I see based on a court decision. Because a court can decide based on what they think the law is. But then as practitioners, we have to take that and then try to apply that to our everyday situation. So that's been fun to watch. Every year we kind of get an update and just realize, okay, this is why they're thinking that, what's the big picture, and then being able to piece it all together. It's a little bit like a puzzle. And so that's been fun too. So I liked the charitable aspect of it, and then it was interesting to follow the trustee removal and appointment stuff that's been happening.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sitting here with me and answering all these questions that I have for you. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell everyone in the audience?
No, I mean, we do have a link, not that any of our clients would want to actually purchase the Pennsylvania Trust Guide, but on our website, we do have a link that just kind of takes you to the publisher's website so that you can see the Pennsylvania Trust Guide. That being said, that, if we have a client who wants to read it or, take it home and kind of peruse it, you can always ask. I'm always wanting to talk about it, excited to talk about it. And so we're always happy to do that for our clients. So.
Well, awesome. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day today, and hope everyone at home also has a great day today.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.